welcome you all into episode 23 of Trojan Talk. This is exactly episode 23. We had a little mix-up. Thought last week was 23. Last week was actually 22. But we're here for episode 23 with Cole Purvis and Jeff Christianberry. How you guys doing this morning?
Good.
Well, we're going to start off by talking some boys lacrosse. They had a win last night, 15-4 versus Marshwood. Jeff, you and I announced that game, and you know, TA gets another win. They're seventh of the season. They've had a great start. What have you seen from that boys lacrosse team?
Well, obviously the scores speak for themselves. They're beating up on the weaker teams, I guess. Marshwood's a Class B team, so yesterday's result's not a big surprise. And it's interesting. Boys lacrosse right now, just in a macro sense, seems to be again very segmented. You know, you look at the North, Class A North, and you know we've talked a little bit about football doing these kind of tiered different classes and playing teams from other states, and lacrosse is not there yet, but getting there. I mean, I've heard that in the North, Falmouth is by far the best team in Class A North, and we saw TA beat Falmouth 4-1.
Yeah.
There's all the good teams are in the South, and it's been like that for a few years now. And so the problem is you get a team like Falmouth who doesn't really get tested much throughout the regular season, except for when they do crossovers, and they kind of waltz into the state championship game. Nothing they could do about it. It's not their fault, but as we see now in general, you really have TA, Cape, Falmouth, and maybe one other team who's decent, and the rest are just blowout games. Yep. So as you can see, lacrosse right now is kind of in an odd place, and good for TA. They're getting wins against these teams, but I mean, it doesn't really help Thornton Academy to go out and win 20-0 or 15-4 yesterday, where they basically scored at will for most of the game. So, I mean, they can only do what they can do, and looking strong right now. I mean, again, the eye test, I don't know if they have as good of a skill team as they've had in the past of their state championship years. Certainly they've scored a lot, but when it gets down to, I guess we'll see, next Friday night will be a huge matchup against Cape, blackout game we will be broadcasting, and that'll really be the test. But the problem is that going to be the only tough game they're going to play all year until they play Cape and maybe in the regional final, and it's tough. It's a short season too. They only play 12 games, so we're already almost halfway through that.
Yeah, and I think that, they already have that one loss to South Portland, which, from what I heard from the players, was an unfortunate loss. Just a game you would like back.
They lost in overtime, right? It was 11. I know it was 11-10.
It was close. Yeah. It was a close game.
Yeah.
But they beat Falmouth 4-1. That was a team that they lost to a couple of times last year, and so it's this Cape game, and I know that this team, that's been what they've been working towards all year, and so hopefully that'll be a good game. Last time they were at Hill Stadium, it was a blowout for Cape. So
yes, it was.
I hope it'll be a little bit different, especially with the blackout game, but. Now we'll talk about some girls lacrosse starting the season 2-3. Not maybe the start they wanted. They win their first one versus Portland, then 3 losses to Scarborough, Marshwood, and Matsabesic, and they beat South Portland last Friday. Pretty good start for the girls lacrosse team, as you said. Not a lot of games in a season. I think they only have 6 home games, 12 in total. So this girls lacrosse team is hopefully gonna. Get some wins. I know we have some broadcasts later up in the year, but what does that girls lacrosse team have to do to get closer to?
Well, it's tough because I think the playoffs are pretty much everyone's in again. I think they're doing that again.
Yep.
So it's not really worried about playoff positioning as much. Girls lacrosse, it's such a interesting sport because you really need a couple dominant offensive players. Because the way the rules are, where you really can't make any physical contact. If you can get a girl or two who can weave her way through the circle and score. It's about agility, it's about speed, and not only just a shot. It's not as much. Boys game, it's really about the shot is the placement and the speed.
Yeah.
And the girls lacrosse, it's really about the placement more than anything else, because so many of the times they're scoring from within 10 to 15 feet because of the way that the rules are. If you get close and you get hit, then you get a free position attempt, which is how a lot of the goals are scored. So when you don't have that, and possession's also really key as well, because when you can't be as physical, we've seen boys lacrosse. I mean, you can whack them with your stick and they can lose the ball. In girls lacrosse, a lot of it is more about unforced errors.
Yep.
And if you're facing against a team like when they faced Marshwood, I saw a little bit of that game last week. Or Marshwood just has such great possession. There's really so much you can do. You can try to intercept a pass. You can really pressure them to make a mistake. Other than that, though, it's really difficult. So what is them going forward? We'll have to see. I haven't seen them in a full game in person yet, so it's tough to make a real call on that. And 2-3 is not the best record in the beginning, but it's a long. They still have at least half their season remaining, and girls lacrosse is kind of funny that way. Sometimes on a given day, you play really good defense, and your goalie comes up with a few huge saves, and anything can happen.
Yeah. Well, quickly, we'll ask Cole here. Cole is a player on the boys tennis team. We'll ask him how tennis has been doing. I know they had some pretty good matches, but we'll get that update from Cole.
It's been going pretty well. We're 5-0. We had a good win versus Falmouth yesterday. They have a really good team, but the big test is going to be Kennebunk, which is coming up at home next week. Kennebunk has only lost one match all season. They've won 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, pretty much every match except for one. We have a really good singles player, Terry Ma. He's been really good for us. And doubles as well have been great. We just have a really deep team. A lot of kids swinging from JV and varsity, so it's been fun to see a lot of kids get some opportunities. And we have some really good chemistry this year, and I think we can go far. I think the team is a little better than last year. We have a lot more depth, and we have Terry coming in as a freshman. So I think we can go a long way, but Kennebunk is the real test, and that's next week.
Well, you talked about lacrosse, and tennis is interesting too. I mean, tennis, we saw a match last week. We were kind of joking, like, you guys didn't even play. Down in the doubles because the team only had 3 players.
Yeah, and that's the case with some schools like Bonnie Eagle, Sanford, but most of them have enough kids.
But even when they have enough kids, they barely have enough kids. Like, I was watching a girls' tennis match. I won't say who it was against last week, and it was just like the competition was just not there. I mean, all of our girls won basically 6-0, 6-0. And it's interesting. I don't know. Tennis is such a weird sport like that because you do have a few really cream of the crop teams at the top. And even years that TA Tennis hasn't had those great players, they've still won most of their matches 5-0. And almost not losing any games. And they get to, Falmouth or Kennebunk, and, it's a 50-50 game. So it's interesting. It'd be interesting to see the stats on it and see the participation rates, and maybe that's part of it.
Yeah.
But as noticed in TA Tennis, both boys and girls, for years has just been cruising through the regular season. Now, not winning many state championships, which is, it's fine. But
last year they lost
Kennebunk.
Kennebunk beat us in everything last spring, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right, but it's like until then it was almost like wasn't even close. Like no matches. So it's one of those things. It's for the players, I'm sure it's nice to win, but I mean you want to play, right? I mean it's not like you want to go show up and be like, we don't have enough people, so you get to play against your teammates or whatever. So interesting. Again, talking about the participation in the future, and some of these programs just don't have the kids right now in tennis.
Yeah. Well, to finish up some TA sports, we'll talk about some baseball. Baseball is 6-1 right now, and the big news was Cody Belker, who is committed to Georgetown for next year. Threw a perfect game in, was it five innings?
Six innings. Perfect game, yeah.
And if you don't know, perfect game is harder to do than a no-hitter. It basically means that no runner from the opposing team made it to first base, which is pretty crazy. That's just, I can't even, I'm trying to imagine a high school team doing that. I just don't think it's possible, but they did it. TA's having a great year so far. That loss to Westbrook was unfortunate, but from what I heard, it was on prom, so some kids weren't as focused as they might have needed to be. But
let's not dismiss that. That means they're mentally weak. They're thinking about something else other than baseball.
But, a good team. I know that their biggest challenge is going to be South Portland, who they lost to in the playoffs last year. They played them today, actually, I believe. So that'll be a good game for Thorne Academy. But we'll keep an eye on them. We want to welcome in Alex St. John for our quick interview here. We'll start. Thank you coming in for Alex. Start off by asking you, what has it been like for you this year being a senior captain on the lacrosse team?
It's great. Last year I was a captain, but junior, so things have changed this year. The other captains are great. You got Colby, Ronan, Cole. Cole was a captain for football, Ronan for soccer, Colby for hockey. I think it couldn't be better. We just got a great group of guys.
Yeah. What are the feelings for you and the team as well going into the highly anticipated Cape game next week?
We're very excited. Cape's a great team. It's a blackout game, so those are always fun. And this year I feel like it's really anyone that could take it all the way because everyone's kind of similar, but we're super excited. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah. So you are a very versatile athlete. You can play both offense and defense. We've seen you do it this year. If you had to choose or just pick one, which do you enjoy playing more? Which one's more fun to play in a game?
That's a tough one. It's fun to score goals, but I got to say defense. I like just beating people.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I got to go defense.
Yeah. What are you? You're going to High Point University next year to play lacrosse. What are you looking forward to next year?
Just a new atmosphere. I've been down there a few times and I've loved it, and I'm just excited to see something new.
Yeah. And the last question here: what is your favorite thing about Coach Ryan Hersey?
Probably the fact he makes practice fun.
Yeah.
some coaches are super hard on everyone, and I mean he gets on us a lot about fundamentals and all that kind of stuff, but he also makes practice fun, which I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. We want to thank Alex for coming in again for that quick interview. And now we want to move over to the professional side of sports. We'll start with the Celtics Game 4 last night. So the Celtics get a big win, 116-108. I know we were talking, during that game, texting a little bit, talking about the game. But I first just want to get your guys' overall thoughts on Games 3 and 4. Series is tied 2-2. What do you think?
Crazy couple games. Obviously, a lot of talk about the officials. I'm not interested in talking about officials. I could certainly point out situations on both teams where, this is an incredibly difficult series to referee. I would not want to do it. My God, if you look at, obviously Giannis on one end, okay? Then on the other end, you look at guys like Jaylen Brown. He takes the ball and he bowls to the hoop. First of all, do you want to get in front of that? I sure wouldn't, and try to take a charge. And you get some hard fouls one way or the other. The teams obviously don't like each other that much. So I'll let Cole talk about the officials more. But I wanted to say, look, last night it did not look great for the Celtics late in the third quarter, down by 10. The whole game is basically the Bucks will go up by 8 or 10. The Celtics come back and tie it, and then, back and forth. And then, the fourth quarter, you look at, I don't know the exact stat, but, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and Jason Tatum were something like 15 to 17 from the field. Yeah. I don't understand how Al Horford's doing it. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this where a player at his age is and has been pretty mediocre for years, a decent player, but not scoring 30 points in a huge playoff game on the road. Mm-hmm. I don't know where it's coming from. It's great for the Celtics. And if he plays like that, they're going to win the finals. Pretty much. I think the series is over. Mm-hmm. They got 2 or 3 games in Boston. The Bucks have shown to be, Giannis is incredible, but the other guys are just not. Drew Holiday's been pretty good, but they don't have like a third guy that can come up. I don't think they have someone like Al Horford, like Robin Lopez or Brook Lopez isn't going to come out and score 30 points. Or you look at last night, Grayson Allen on the first play of the game goes in for a layup. I don't think he scored the rest of the game or barely did. So they don't have that third guy. Obviously, they're missing Middleton hugely. And the Celtics, again, I'm going to point this out again. The Celtics missing Robert Williams didn't really affect him. All this whole series and all these series we've seen. Robert Williams has been out, Marcus Smart's been out, on the Bruins side, McAvoy's been out, Lindholm's been out, and all those teams have won pretty much every game that those guys have been out. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting how everybody else steps up. But coming back to Boston, I think Boston definitely Game 5 and then 6. I think I don't know. I see the Celtics at least winning in 7. I can't fathom them losing another home game the way the Bucks are playing right now. But it's just it was an incredible performance in the fourth quarter. That's just all you got to say about it. They scored like 40 points in the fourth quarter last night.
Well, first of all, I'm pretty sick of the Celtics playing because I talk to multiple Celtics fans on a daily basis. You know who you are. That complain about the refs and how they're screwing the Celtics before the game even starts. It's like they've already predetermined that the refs are bad. I hear people, Tony Brothers is reffing tonight. We're screwed. This always happens, and it's the same thing with Scott Foster. Celtics fans just hate every official. And it's the playoffs. There's going to be a 50-50 call on every other possession, especially when Giannis is on the other side. And do you not want Giannis to use his strength at all? He's a tank. Sure, he gives some charges once in a while, definitely. There were a couple missed calls, but for the most part, I think Giannis' strength is just it's not as illegal as people think. And I think the Celtics are a little too jumpy and undisciplined sometimes, and that's why they're fouling. They've just been super over-aggressive, and I think Celtics fans need to take that into account as well, that maybe they need to just lighten off of Giannis a little bit. I know it's tough, but, credit to them. They did pull out a big one last night. Horford really put this team on his back, and Tatum did have a quiet 30. It seemed like Tatum was struggling, but you look at the box score, and he had, I believe, 30 points. So,
but he had a play, too. We mentioned he had a play last night in the fourth quarter where he bowled into the lane and ran over somebody of the Bucks, and they called the block. And I was thinking, okay, well, Celtics fans mad about that one. It's the same exact play that Giannis does, and they should do it. If they're calling it that way, then he should be more aggressive on there. So, first of all, one thing about Giannis, he's a great player, but it should be illegal for him to take 3-pointers. What in the world is he doing? They had the stat, he's like 4 of 28 in the playoffs, and he jacked up 3 of them, I think, in the first half. And as I think it was Van Gundy, who was on the broadcast, was like, it's just free possessions. You're just giving the Celtics possession when you kind of sit to the top of the key. I mean, the Celtics should literally back off and give him 10 feet if he wants to shoot a three-pointer.
But it's the same thing as like Bobby Portis. I don't think Bobby Portis could shoot a three, but when he's playing well, he can, like in that Bulls series, in the first series, like there was one game where he went up, shot a three, hit it, and then he went up, shot another three. And when those players are on, they're hitting those shots.
Yeah,
When he
but
hits
they don't
one,
have
but-
a lot of them. Like Connaughton is not a good shooter. He
Oh,
misses
he's
shots.
frustrating.
I mean,
if you're a
that-
Bucks
that-
fan, he's got to be because he did
Yeah.
the same thing in Game 3. He pulled a Peyton Pritchard and shot like that game almost turned for the Bucks because he shot like three
Yes.
threes on 3 straight
Yep.
possessions and clanked them all.
Connaughton and Peyton Pritchard, that's a good comparison. They remind
Yeah.
me of each other. Same thing with I forget. Oh yeah, Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen.
I like
not
Grayson
a
Allen.
great
He's a Duke
shooter.
guy, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are guys they have to put in though for Middleton. That's when you
I know,
really
right?
know.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
But the one thing I gotta say though on Cole's point is the one call in this whole series that I can't get over is the Game 3 no call on the Marcus Smart 3-point.
Oh, I can.
No, that
His-
that is
if you look,
that
his
is
feet,
clear.
by the way, are pointed at the scores table. He's not
Yes.
even. He 100%.
He did not start
in-
the motion until he got
in
hacked.
4 seconds. In 4, you're telling me
guys are
that the
crazy.
Boston Celtics with 4 seconds to go wanted to run a play for Marcus Smart from 3-point land.
Exactly.
No, he
I
knew
mean,
exactly.
But that's not what you make a call on
He
though,
came
right?
around the
He
screen.
shot it after he got fouled.
It's
Okay.
it's the exact play that the NBA's not wanted because all these superstars have done the same thing. As soon as it's not even until they get contact. When they can sniff the contact's coming, then they go into this flailing arm motion, and I don't think it's good for the game.
Yes.
So I mean, look, if they would have called a three-pointer, it's not like that was a 50-50 call. Like it was close enough
Yeah.
where if they would have done it both, but like that's exactly the play that people don't want. And when Durant does that against the Celtics and others, it's like, oh my gosh, why don't they take this out of the game? And when Smart does it, of course, it's.
Yeah, and how do you know Smart's going to make 3 free throws in the Celtics?
That's
win in
true.
overtime?
That's
It was a 1-point game though, right?
No,
No,
it
it's
was
2
They
points.
were
Yeah,
down by
they were
3.
down by no,
They
yeah,
were down 3.
yeah, they're on 3.
So
yeah.
Smart would have
Yeah.
at best tied it. And how do you know
I
they're
think
going to win in
there's got to be
overtime?
a call, but
A lot of things
it-
would have
it-
had to happen.
It doesn't matter.
And he missed a
anymore,
3.
'cause-
And honestly, I was listening last night, watching going back through that game. Celtics had 2 possessions when they were up by 1 with the ball, with under 2 minutes to go in that game, and missed 2 threes. One was Marcus Smart, one was Jaylen Brown. They hit one of those shots, and that whole play at the end doesn't matter. So, and look, they're 2-2. If you would have given them an option for a split when they went to Milwaukee, they would have taken it. So now they have total control of the series, and I assume Rob Williams will be
Just
back.
stop making excuses. That's all I ask.
I mean,
They'll make excuses all the way to the finals. They'll win the finals. They'll be like, wow, we did it in spite of the rest. We
Yeah.
should have won by
Uh-huh.
more. Like
That's what happened with the Nets in Game 4.
Exactly. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Well, one more Celtics topics. I was thinking about this. Let's just pretend for a second that the Celtics go to the finals. I don't think they're going to have any trouble with the 76ers or
No.
the Heat. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But who, I know Cole's got his pick with the Warriors because he's a Warriors fan, but who do you think the Celtics should be most afraid of to play in the finals? The Suns, the Mavs, the Warriors, the Grizzlies. The only reason I put the Mavs or the Grizzlies in there is because the series, to me, isn't really over for either.
No, I get that. I mean, I definitely think the Warriors. I mean, the way that they're playing, I don't fear the Mavs or the Grizzlies at all. I mean, maybe in a game or two, like John Morant could take over if the Grizzlies somehow win that series, which they're not. That one's over. The Mavs Suns series, I'm surprised it's close. The Suns, I mean, you've seen Chris Paul have some up and down games in the playoffs,
Yep.
but I just see. I take all of it into account. I take how the road games would be. That's why I'm not worried about Miami because that is not an atmosphere the Celtics would have to worry about at all
Yeah.
if they end up playing the Heat. I think it's the Warriors the way that they're playing right now. They're a super physical team on the inside. Draymond Green. Talk about foul calling. Imagine what that series is going to be like with Draymond Green, and Robert Williams and Marcus Smart banging inside. It's gonna be
I can't
nuts.
wait.
And of course, I think they're easily the most talented team in the West. So I think Celtics Warriors would be a great finals, and that's who they should be most worried about. I think if they play the Mavs or Grizzlies, it's a 4 or 5 game series. The Suns could be a 6-game series as far as Celtics win, and then the Warriors a total toss up.
The Warriors are a championship team, and people are making Memphis out to be a weaker second-round opponent, but they're not. The Warriors are making them look weak because they're absolutely dominating them. And Memphis went 20-5 without John Morant this season, so they're no
Regular
scrubs.
season.
Yeah, but they're no scrubs without John Morant. And
they are scrubs without John Morant.
they just have
I couldn't even name another
championship
Grizzly.
DNA.
I couldn't-
see
I
that,
couldn't name another
right there.
Grizzly right now.
That's my point.
I mean, I'm a casual NBA fan, but I couldn't name
you
any
got
other
John
Grizzlies.
Morant and Jaren Jackson. Everybody else is a
Desmond
mid-tier player.
Bain.
They're all mid-tier
Desmond-
players. They're
Desmond
too
Bain
young.
is a
They don't know how
quality
to play.
starter.
I wouldn't even know if he walked in right now. I wouldn't know who he
Yeah,
was.
I don't know. I think
Casual.
How about this? I think the Warriors.
He's a great shooter.
They've played well against Josh so far, but last night's win, I'm not going to sit there as if I was Warriors.
What do you want them to do, though? They're playing who's in front of them, and they're beating these teams. They beat the Nuggets in 5 games. They'll probably beat the Grizzlies in 5 or 6 games. But these third-quarter runs are back. This is a scary Warriors team.
All right.
I
And
wouldn't wanna play
Jordan Poole has been impressive. We'll see how long
I think
they
the
can ride the
opposite.
wave with him.
I think Jordan Poole's been he started off well. I think he's starting to fall
Nah,
back into
I
that
would-
role.
He had his first off night last night. He had 27 in Game 3 and I think 14 last night. But
I don't want to play. I don't want to play the Warriors.
Draymond might be passing better than anybody in the NBA right now. Steph would not be even close to what he is if it weren't for Draymond. He sets up everything for that offense. Everybody wants to talk about his defense, but he is such a great passer, really one of the most underrated passers in the NBA. And they can close a game not just offensively but defensively. They did that in Game 1, stopping Ja Morant on a great read by Klay Thompson to pick him up as he was driving to the hoop. And then last night, Draymond Green blocks, I believe it was Jaren Jackson, on a three-point attempt. So they're closing these games out on both sides of the ball, which is really impressive, just the way that they've been able to take care of business in the fourth quarter. They're the favorites for me to win it all.
Is Ja Morant a long-term superstar in the NBA?
Yeah, he shouldn't have gotten Most Improved Player. I don't think he's the MVP,
Yeah,
but
no, that's
that-
a
the
weird
mo-
Like in
pick.
5 years, is he still going to be? I feel like he's going to be one of these guys in 2-3 years. I don't know if it's going to be injuries or what. I mean, the way he plays is so
He's
crazy.
like the
He's on
Lamar
it.
Jackson of the NBA.
That's
I
true.
feel
I could.
like.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's a good
he is.
comparison.
But like one more thing, like if let's just say the Celtics play the Warriors, what do the Celtics change on defense? I don't think the Warriors have any interior scoring compared to what like we're playing against the Bucks right now. So how do they check?
Well, I think it's a decent matchup for the Celtics because because guys like Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown can defend on the perimeter. I mean, look, if you said right now, what would that series be? I'd say Warriors in probably 6. You know, just the way the teams are playing. I mean, if the Warriors are playing again, you have to assume if they're both teams are playing at their best, then the Warriors are a better team. I mean, they're just better in almost at every position.
I don't agree.
You don't agree? I mean,
you're
you
right.
get
I
Klay Thompson,
think-
Steph Curry,
I think that the
Andrew
Warriors.
Wiggins.
I think the Warriors have a good chance of winning that, but I think at everyone playing at their best, including the bench, the Celtics are way better.
I don't know the bench hasn't played that
but
great
the
for the Celtics.
the Celtics can't. They can't all
The
play.
Warriors bench includes Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, Jonathan Kuminga. They've had a great bench.
Who is Kevin Looney?
Oh, Kevin Looney's good.
He's won a lot of games. Steve Kerr said it. He's won a lot of games for them in the past. He gives them quality minutes.
Is Steve Kerr out with COVID going to hurt the series at all? It didn't hurt last night, I guess, but
No, I don't think so. Mike Brown, shout out to him. He got a job with the Kings. Why would you want to go to the Kings?
money. He's not going
Yeah,
anywhere.
I think that's exactly the reason. All right, we'll talk about the Bruins real quick. They lose the first 2 games of the series to Carolina. It looked bad, but hey, they won the next 2 at home. But the question I have for you guys, so the Bruins were playing better at home. Carolina's were playing better at home. In any sport, in any situation, is the home advantage aspect of the game, is that really a factor? Do you guys think that's a real thing? Do you think it's just sometimes it's coincidental that a team plays better at home?
I think there are a couple sports. I mean, I think in the sports that it actually affects the game, yes, like in baseball. Obviously, you have the last ups. I don't think the crowd has much to do with it. In baseball, it's more about the
ballpark.
the positioning. Yeah, true, the ballpark, because they're all different. I think, honestly, usually in hockey, I don't think it makes a difference. But in this series, I think it does. I think every home team's going to win. I think the home team's going to win every game in this Bruins series because the whole last change thing, which I would always think is such an overrated thing. But the way that the Bruins are setting up their lines and the way that Carolina has kind of set up their defense, you saw it in these last 2 games that when Bruins can control the matchups on the ice, they're making a lot better plays. And that's why I'm really fascinated to see if Bruce Cassidy keeps the perfection line out there tonight, because if you do, you're going to be facing Carolina's either, the exact matchup pretty much on every play that Carolina wants, which is why in the first 2 games they were really ineffective. So, I think the whole series changed in two places. One was a shorthanded goal in Game 3.
Yep.
I forget who scored that.
Coyle,
yeah. Because I was like, it was a 1-0 Carolina into the first period.
Same situation. Like we gave up an early goal. It looks like we're not going to be able to come back.
And then yesterday, 2 days ago, it was obviously the whole situation at the end of the second. I know we argued about whether that was really a penalty for interference or not. Either way, that was a game changing. When he challenged it, I don't know the rule that well, so I'm like, Brindamore you better be sure about this because that changed the whole game. And then that Aho penalty probably doesn't happen. You can't just assume that it's going to happen if that call, that they're not on a penalty kill, and that's it right there. They score 2 goals basically on a power play, and the game's over from there. So as far as the home field advantage, I think the home ice advantage is going to be huge. I see Carolina winning this game again pretty easily. I see Bruins winning back in Game 6 and then Carolina Game 7. That's my gut.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think I don't know. I think Game 5 will be a lot closer. We'll still lose, but it'll be closer. It'll be like a low scoring, like 3-1 loss, something like that.
It's just so funny though. You look at after the first 2 games, all of the talking heads are like, "Well, Carolina's obviously the better team in every way," and the Bruins have no chance coming back. And I was like, "Well, it's only 2-0. Like if it's 3-0, okay, fine." But they came back home, and the Bruins played again. What's going to happen tonight is going to have no McAvoy, right? Yeah. I think that's really going to hurt them this game. They were able to pull it off in one game at home, and some of their their lower D-line guys played exceptional.
Yep.
Now, can they do that for a second or third game now that, the Carolina's Brendan Moore's been able to plan for 2 days about how do we exploit them, and probably Lindholm, who knows if he's going to play or not too. So, but it's been a good series, and but home field advantage. Football, I think it's not as big as it used to be, especially because there's only one team that gets a bye now. And baseball, it's not the fans, it's the ballpark and the other thing. And in basketball, sometimes. I mean, not as much, though. I mean, you're seeing in this series
rare situation.
Rare situation.
Right,
in Game 7, sure, maybe that has a thing. But.
All right, so we're going to talk about the 76ers and the Heat series. So Heat were up 2-0. Joel Embiid comes back. Sixers wins. They just won the second, right? So it's now tied 2-2. I have my own thoughts. I think it's stupid that Embiid, I think they did it on purpose. They were like, oh, Embiid's not going to play for the rest of the series with that orbital fracture to his face. And then 2 games later, he's like, yep, I'm back and I'm playing. I think it was a whole marketing thing to get everybody excited. Do you think the Heat can pull out the series?
I think the Sixers will win. This might be tough. This is a tough series to predict. This is just as tough as the Celtics, in my opinion. I really don't know. It could go either way. But Embiid certainly made a good case for why he should have won MVP. With how bad the Sixers played in Miami, just showing his value. He opened things up for Harden in Game 3, who was the star. And if Harden can have a couple of vintage games, it sounds weird saying that because he was really good just 2 years ago. Yeah. But if he can do that, I think the Sixers can win the series. Maybe they'll get one of those in Game 5 or 6 or 7. But Joel, I would have given him the edge for MVP over Jokic. I know Jokic won, but it was really close.
Yeah. I think the Sixers win in 6. I think they're going to win because again, we talk about home court advantage. Miami has none.
This is the worst.
You tune in, it's 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and there's still a third of the seats that are empty. So that's why I hope the Heat win, because I think it'll be much easier for the Celtics on that front. No, I think that again, it's a tough thing. If Harden plays, Embiid's going to play well. So if Harden plays well too, they're the better team. Yeah. The Heat are one of those teams that have 4 or 5 really good players, not one superstar. Jimmy Butler's kind of close, but he's not. As big as some of the other guys. So, yeah, I think kind of a crazy fight back. In terms of the injury thing, they didn't technically say he's out for the series. They said he has no timetable for his return. They did get fined $50,000
They did,
for basically
right?
calling him out for Game 3, and then he showed up and played. But that really only affects one game. Game 4, obviously they knew he was going to play, and they still won the game. So, I think that series is going 7. We need one of these series to go 7. We didn't have any in the first round. We had no upsets in the first round. No series went to Game 7s. We really only had one buzzer beater, and that was Game 1 of the Celtics series.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the Celtics go to 7 for the Bucks.
I could see that. Yeah.
And if the Grizzlies won last night, every series would have been tied at 2 games apiece. That would have been crazy.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah. All right, our last topic before we get to our pick the winners, we have some Patriots talk, and this makes me happy because as a Falcons fan, I was okay with our pick of Desmond. Is it Riddler or Ritter?
Ritter. I don't think he's good at all.
Okay,
you took him at a good value. I guess
that's what I wanted.
But I think he's terrible personally.
Okay, so I'll give the Falcons. You guys talk about the Patriots. I think if they would have picked him in the first round, I would have been irate. I can't even think because everybody else got in the third round. Was it Coral, Willis, Ritter, and
Sam Howell?
Howell. They all went third round. So I think he's a good guy. I don't want Malik Willis. He can throw, 80 yards in the field? Great. What's that going to do for me when we don't have any wide receivers, right?
Can Kyle Pitts go catch that? I thought he was Superman.
You got Drake London, too.
Drake London. I like him, though. I think he's okay. But it's a decent draft for me, and you guys did worse, so I'm okay with that.
We did worse. Oh, yeah, we did. Well, I don't know. I think here's the thing. I think we got a couple players who could be contributors. The problem is we got them all a round or two too early. If you literally take our draft and move everyone down one round, and then you add somebody at the front of it, like one of the cornerbacks that they could have taken at 21, then I'm like, all right, decent draft. Because that guard that they picked, Strange, he's going to play probably day one. He could be a very, very good offensive lineman. Even if he does become a Hall of Fame offensive lineman, still was a dumb pick because of where they were, and you need so much more weapons. They went straight speed the whole way. The second round guy, I think, was a huge, huge reach. They could have got him in the 6th or 7th round probably.
Yep.
Yes, he was the fastest at the combine, all this other stuff. So, it was a terrible draft day. It certainly looks like it right now, and you won't know for 2 or 3 years, obviously, but they had just so many holes. I think the whole offseason is just baffling to me. I think they're heading for a crash of 7-10, something like that. Offensively, they'll be okay. Defensively, they're worse in almost every single position. They're worse at linebacker. They're certainly worse in the secondary. The defensive line will be about the same. So yeah,
their offense will be better than last year. They have Devontae Parker. That's a good guy. I
can
think.
imagine Aguilar can't play any worse, and Jonathan Smith can't play any worse.
And then they're two running backs. They got Ramondre Stevenson now backing up
Damian Harris.
Damian
Who's in a
Harris,
contract year, he'll be gone.
The thing about Cole Strange is, to me, it's like even though I think he'll be decent, like I'm hearing, he'll be the next Joe Thuney or whatever. I think I want him to fail. I want someone to be like, finally be like, wow, Bill Belichick with these crazy picks that always work. I want finally not to work, and them to be like,
they haven't worked for 5 years now. So.
I think it's a little bit of a reality check for everybody that projects everything about the draft, that maybe teams' big boards are different from most of the analysts out there. And Cole Strange might have went early second round, and so Bill sensed that. Plus, they traded back. So I don't think it's as bad of a pick. I don't like the Tyquan Thornton pick, and I don't like taking running backs in the late rounds. We do not need that.
Yeah.
I just like everybody.
Or quarterback in the 4th round.
I just like everybody wanted a linebacker, but they do have some guys that they kind of redshirted their first year.
Uche supposed to come in next year.
McGrone.
So we'll see how those guys pan out. So I don't think it's as bad as people think, but I can't completely defend Bill on this one. I don't really like the draft.
It's just sad that the most exciting thing for the season is the Patriots are playing in Vegas, so I'm going to go to the game. Nice. They just announced I think it's going to be week 1 or 2. So
okay. All right. So we'll finish up this episode with pick the winners. This is week 5. We didn't get to do it last week, so the record is I'm winning with 15-5. I'm just insane at this point.
You pick the games too. I wonder how that is.
No. I've been picking mostly basketball, which is I think all of us are pretty decent at. Jeff, you are 11-9, and Cole, you're 7-13. So you've been picking it up since that. You're 1-6 at one point. Yep. All right. Okay. So we'll start with tonight, the first game, Bruins at Carolina. Series is tied 2-2.
Canes.
Carolina.
All right. I unfortunately have to pick Carolina as well.
Ooh.
It's because McAvoy's out with COVID. Lindholm, even though they say he's going to play, he's not going to play. He's got a concussion. So that's it. Okay, game 5 tonight as well. Suns at the Mavericks. Oh, wait, no, it's opposite way around, right?
Mavs at Suns.
Mavs at Suns. Yeah, you're right. So Mavericks at Suns, series tied 2-2.
I'm gonna take the Mavericks.
All right.
I don't feel good about it, but I'll take the Suns.
All right, I'm going to take the Suns as well. I think at home, I think it's just a better.
Chris Paul's not playing well, and he's got that whole thing about the whole incident.
All right, and then we got, as well tonight, we have the 76ers at the Heat.
Sixers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Road Warriors today.
I'll go 76ers as well. I think should be.
He's got to protect his lead. He's got to protect his picks lead at this point.
Well, yeah, because if I have to get one wrong, you guys get it wrong too. All right, game 5, Bucks at Celtics, which is tomorrow, I believe. Yes.
Celtics by 100.
Bucks.
Ooh.
Am I writing down Celtics by 100 for you?
No. Celtics by 20 though.
Okay, Cole with the Bucks. I'm gonna go Celtics as well. I think they're gonna win that one. And then the final game is tomorrow as well. Warriors at the Grizzlies. I don't know
is
if
that 5?
5
6.
and I
sorry.
5. And I don't know if John Morant is playing. He didn't play last night. He had a knee thing.
Yeah, he's definitely questionable.
Oh man.
Grizzlies been playing better.
I'm gonna go Memphis. I think that series is over in 6. I think the Warriors will close out in 6, but
yeah, I got Memphis as well.
I gotta go with the Warriors.
All right. Well, you're staying close to your team. Yeah, I see how it is.
I can see the Warriors winning that.
I do. I don't know. It's always a toss up with these games. But all right, that's gonna do it for episode 23 of Trojan Talk. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next week.